Hey everyone, are we live? I really hope we are because I am not doing another take on this. So, this is going to be an addition to one of the segments in my channel. It's a playlist, and if you go check it out, it's called Budget Travel. All right, and so the last episode I did, it was more like a video podcast type. All right, and that's the idea going behind it. And although all the experiences that I shared are real, okay, but I still felt like I was marketing. You know what I mean? Like I was maybe trying too hard to reach my audience, or it just felt it still didn't feel organic as I would like it to be. And therein lies the huge problem with some of the things that I think people set out for in a podcast. They think about how they can monetize, or even YouTube. You know what I mean? They think about how they can monetize or what's their end goal, what's their product. Well, that is something to think about, I guess. If that's the only reason that you're getting into the game, then you've got probably a little bit of soul searching to do, because you can't. You obviously you go in, if that's your complete mindset, then you go in 100% in that direction. All right, you go all in because you don't want to go halfway in, doubting yourself. I'm not here to give you some sort of inspirational talk or any of that stuff. I'm here to give you the straight facts of some of the stuff, the budget travel stuff that I've learned on my travels. I just thought I'd make this episode just to kind of to not only to add to the podcast, to give y'all some more insight on how to travel on a budget, or even if you're not on a budget, how you can save space or save money, even just to in smaller areas that maybe you haven't thought about. All right, maybe to get the most out of some very simple things, like I'm about to talk to everybody here today. All right, so this isn't written, this isn't scripted. All right, I'm not editing any parts in or out. All right, it's gonna go. I'm just going straight through. And in the very beginning, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, was the whole monetization idea that people get into podcasting and YouTube and all that stuff. While that is part of it, that is not everything. And I think you need to think of it as kind of a segue for you and for me in particular today, to be able to talk to people, and specifically just to give information for entertainment purposes as well. You want to put out a quality product. People nowadays, as far as aesthetics, this aesthetic portion of stuff is not as prevalent as I thought that it used to be. It's not what it was, and it's not what it is. People like quality. Yeah, of course they like quality, but they also like people to be real, and that is a huge part of quality. You know what I mean? Like real life experiences, like in my last episode. All right. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't have any affiliates or any of that stuff. But I was there. All of those videos and all those pictures that I showed you, I was there and I did that thing. All right. So I think that's a huge part as far as your mindset. I've seen a lot of these, so-called influencers and so-called geniuses and stuff. And yeah, okay, they're geniuses in their own right for how far they've come in their particular, what they call niche, however you say that. And that's all well and good, all right. But I think what people are really yearning for nowadays is a connection to the people that they see on the screen, or they hear in their voices on the podcast, just like today. Like I said, it's none of this is scripted. All right, it's all coming to you just straight through. I'm not editing. I don't like to edit. I'm not lazy. I just think that it takes away from, like I said earlier, it takes away from that authenticity. All right. That's just kind of something I wanted to throw in there in the very beginning of this, because I think I've I've done a lot of research on this kind of thing, and I had the mentality is like, I really want to put out quality content. So then I started looking at all these creators and all these how-tos and this and that. And they're like, well, how to monetize and how to monetize. Like, that's all you see now. All right. And that's all well and good. Like I said, if that's your end goal, that's great. But I think if you go in organically, and even if you don't have a niche, or if maybe you find it along the way, okay, you're not going to iron everything out before you get in there, because you may try to do it and you may find out that's something that you really don't like to do. And I think that's a very important thing, whether you're all in or you're halfway in, either way, you know, go all in, whether you're not exactly sure what you want to talk about, what your end game is, right? Maybe you could just be going on for funsies. I mean, I'm here for informational purposes. All right, I'm here to give you all some raw data and information on my experiences and my travels and how I saved money, and hopefully how it saves you money or it saves you time, right? So that's just one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about. That is the intro. All right. There's not going to be any sort of intro song. I'm not going to do some sort of a transition. We're going to move right along to the next subject I wanted to talk about. This is right off the top of my head. All right. I wanted to talk to y'all about saving space, being practical when you travel. If that's something that your mind is set on when you travel somewhere, even if it's not, right? You'd still rather be practical. Like you see sometimes in the movies, and I've actually seen it in real life, where people travel to these places and they take all these bags, right? And this may not be news to anybody, but it may be news to some, okay? But that's just, to me personally, in my personal experience, if you really want to enjoy some of these places, you're really going to want to do something. Number one, you're going to want to mix and match outfits. All right. Mix and match your outfits for sure. That way you're not overwhelming yourself with all this baggage, because all that stuff gets tedious. Keeping up with all of it and having to, depending on how long you're staying in a certain area, it's too much to take out and then have to pack and figure out how you're going to pack it all back in these bags or bag. Leave some room. I mean, this, like I said, these are just small tips and tricks that you may know, you may not know, and hopefully it helps. All right. So just be as practical as you can when you're packing. It'll save you so much time in the end, and it'll save you space. It'll save you your back for sure. All right. I know that for a fact. I used to think that I needed all this stuff, all this material stuff to take with me, like all these different shoes and what have you. But that's really not what it is. I mean, if you want to live that life, obviously you go ahead and you live your life, boo. But seriously, I mean, you can still have fun, but mix and match clothes. All right. And another thing, like I said, to save space, roll your clothes. Roll them. It may not be news to you, but it may be news to some. When you roll your clothes, you're saving tons of space. All right. Make sure that those mixed and matched outfits kind of stick together when you roll them up. Not stick together like glue, but I mean, keep them together. Or you can even put them. You can roll them, and you can separate them in a bag, in certain bags within your bag, just to keep them together. I mean, there's limitless possibilities, but it'll still save you space in the end. All right, I know that's for the OCD people, that need to color code, or that need to have all their stuff in a certain order, and this, that, and the third. Right? You can write on that bag, or you can have a label on that bag. Like this is going to be, these mixed and matched outfits are going to be together. And, this is going to be for, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't know. However y'all want to do it. I'm just telling you, to save some space, roll your clothes, folks, please. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. You don't have to listen to me. But I found that when you roll your clothes, you save so much more space. Because if you find something over there, right, and you want to bring it back, then you got to figure out ways to, fit it in there. if you packed your bags to the brim. All right. So just to, it's all practicality. It's all practicality. And in the spirit of saving money and space, this also saves you money because you don't have to check this bag in, or you don't have to check certain bags in. I take a travel bag with me. It's pretty practical. I have bags that help separate my clothes if I need them. I'm not super OCD, but the bags are there to kind of keep everything together and to keep it tight within my travel bag. And it's like a backpack. I used to have one that I really loved, and it got stolen. Unfortunately, when I was on a trip, it's an Osprey. But those bags you can have, they come with like bags, these zip up bags that you can roll your clothes in and put in and zip those up. But it helps to keep it compact because on the sides of that bag it had these straps that you could pull to tighten, and that would in turn compress the insides of your bag. If you know what I'm talking about, it helped to keep it tight, and it just and it helps to compress it so that way when you do go to the airport and you're checking your stuff, and they have those little areas where you can put your bag in, and it checks the size to make sure that it's still a carry-on, that portion. Just to avoid you possibly losing your bag. Like say you get there and your bag doesn't make the cut, right? And they're like, oh, well, we really think that you should probably check this, and then you can get it at your next destination. I mean, does the chances of you not getting your bag at that next destination are not 100% or anything like that? I'm not trying to scare you, but more often than not that I've seen is, especially nowadays, is that people are losing bags, or they're not getting to the destination. And just to avoid that, I'd rather have my stuff with me rather than checking it in at the counter, as far as where you get your tickets issued before you get to the terminal. Saves you a lot of money too. All right. That's in the spirit of saving money. There's another thing that saves on average like $75 a bag, probably round trip, right? I mean, $75 one way and then $75 the other way, or however. I mean, I don't know about you, but even if I had all the money in the world, if I'm still saving $75 on some nonsense like this, like checking a bag in, I think I'd rather do that. That $75 can be used for something else. It could be used for something to put into that bag, because guess what? I saved space by rolling it. Therefore, I have more space to bring something back with me from that region. I'm not a huge guy I'm not a huge advocate as far as like souvenirs, like those common ones that you would see, or like someone that brings a shot glass back. Unless somebody has requested that from me, I'm really not an advocate for bringing anything back aside from maybe something that I thought was really cool as far as some historical. I'm a big history buff. So something like historical from that region, or maybe that's particular to that specific place, that's tailored for that specific place. A shot glass you could find anywhere, a mug, a hat, all that kind of stuff is to me, it's all fodder, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I mean, that saves, space, and it saves money, and it's, you can bring something back with you. I mean, there's nothing better, in my opinion. All right. Now you could tell me to shove it. It's not a big deal. Everybody's got their own opinions, but we're going to move right along into the next subject. All right. As far as saving money, and I think I talked about this. I kind of skimmed the surface in my last podcast episode, and that's the local currency. All right. If you are to get to that certain place, wherever it is, say you're going to, for instance, one of the biggest, some of the research I've done on, I want to say Japan, because Japan, I've been through Japan. I didn't really have a long stint there, but that's one of the places I want to go to. But I really want to pull the yen out before I get there, so that way I don't have to use my card. I'd rather, there's a possibility that your information could get stolen, or maybe you're paying a pretty high premium, unless you have it like some sort of an international deal or a card that will reimburse you for pulling money out or for using it, or what have you. But I personally would just like to have, and it also kind of sets a limit. You put like a limit on yourself as far as being able to think about what you're going to spend each day on certain things, right? So the yen being, I want to say it's about, it's about 0.007 yen. No, 0.007. I'm getting it mixed up in my head. 0.007 United States dollars to 1 Japanese yen. So it's a lot less. But I think maybe some of the products they have, especially for tourists, like it may just kind of even out. But if you were to do the math, it would be around 134-ish Japanese yen to make 1 American dollar. So the dollar's worth more than the yen. All right, that's all you need to know about that. But anyway, you really want to pull the money out before you go to these places, because it'll just be easier that way, so you don't have to pay like international fees and stuff. That saves money in the end. In my, like I said before, I mean, who doesn't love that stuff? Even if you've got all the money, that's still, saving money is a pretty good deal. You didn't make all that money by being dumb. All right, let me just say that. So that's just one way, you know what I mean? And moving right along to the next one. The next way to budget would probably be, as far as, it's kind of hard to say flight wise. I mean, I have some sites that I use that really help me to kind of bring the price down a little bit as compared to average price. You obviously want to get your tickets or what have you further out than the day of, right? Obviously, or like the week before or something like that, right? But there are certain sites that will keep an eye on it. There's certain days that you want to look at regarding what. I mean, you can Google it. I mean, you'll just be like, all right, what would be the best day to buy flight? Any flight, because I'm pretty positive that an international flight and a domestic flight, the prices fluctuate pretty much on the same day. So that one you could probably Google as far as for the day is concerned, the best days to buy flights. But as far as the websites that you could use, Kayak's a great one. I mean, I know there's certain things that people like to use that they've used in the past, or maybe they stick directly with the website itself, or a United or Delta or American, whichever airline that you have come to love, right? Lufthansa, Etihad, or whatever. But that one I can leave to you. The only thing that I will say is my favorite one is probably Skyscanner, because Skyscanner has gotten me some great deals on flights too, especially international flights when I was living out in Abu Dhabi. So have yourself a look-see at that one, because that one works wonders sometimes. Okay. So moving right along. Sorry about that. Had a little brain fart there. So moving right along, we're going to talk about lodging. All right, lodging. That's just a place that you're going to be staying to sleep. All right, I don't, unless you have like an all-inclusive resort or something like that, then I would not spend an arm and a leg on lodging personally. Airbnbs and stuff like that are a big thing now. You can find some great Airbnb deals. If you're a member of something like Hilton or some of those things, obviously go have at it. Maybe you have several nights or that you can use, or what have you. Definitely do that. I mean, if that's the route that you want to take, go ahead and do it. Airbnbs seem to work pretty good, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure they're going up in price, or they have already gone up in price, but it wouldn't be a bad deal to check those out. Some of the lesser known hotels maybe, because like I said, really, unless it's an all-inclusive resort, that's really just going to be a place that you're sleeping, that you have your stuff. Obviously, you want to be in a safe place. You don't want to be you don't want to be in the slum, slumming it up where the crime rate's really high. I'm not saying any of that. You could save money doing that and roll the die, but all I'm saying is practicality. Practicality. I could probably beat it into you. How many times I've said it in this podcast, in this one episode. Moving right along. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. There's no shortcut to it as far as that's concerned. Just do your due diligence and your research. I can help with any of that stuff if anybody ever needs any sort of advice about a particular place that they're going that I may have been, or if you're curious about where I've been, I can definitely give you a list, or we could start a conversation and I can help you out with some of that stuff. The door's always open, so just go ahead and ask me if you like. So moving along right to food. As far as food, leave that one up to you. If it stays within your budget, your daily budget. That's one thing I wanted to talk about too, is as far as a daily budget, you could set yourself a daily budget, if you're not worried about it, you don't have to, obviously. But if you did, what I'd like to do a lot of times is I'll have a list of places, just a comprehensive list of places that I want to, like, that my research has shown me that I want to go do, right? So if some of that stuff I can fit it within my budget for each day, then I'll go ahead and do it. Obviously I go over the top when I see, about stuff that I see that I can do, that I would like to do in these particular places, but I know I'm never going to finish it for the simple fact, and this is key here, the simple fact that your best forms of knowledge, your best sources of information, rather, when you get to certain place, or when you get to these places, especially international, are going to be the locals. All right. Obviously, they love these places that they're going to tell you about, that maybe they would suggest, but they really don't want a whole lot of foot traffic there, because maybe that's a place that they frequent. You know what I mean? That's a place that they love, that they don't want to see too many Americans or wherever you're from, maybe just tourists in general there. It would behoove you to just kind of ask that question maybe when you're inquiring about, particular local spots, because you want to experience the culture. That's why you go to these certain places, to learn about the culture, to eat great food. That's, obviously from there. At least I do anyway, right? I mean, I wouldn't go to Japan to go eat McDonald's. That's for sure. But yeah, that's all part of the experience. It's part of getting out and doing the stuff that you want to do, as far as seeing the places that you've researched, hopefully, but also, speak to the locals and get their take on it. Like, some of them are really nice. Some of them will probably tell you, like, no, don't go there. There's too much foot traffic there. It's overrated. It's already run down. Personally, I've always wanted to go to Rome, right? I'm a Catholic, and I will say it. I'm a Catholic. I've always wanted to go there, but then as I've been doing my research and talking to people that have been there, they're just telling me not so great stuff about Rome. Italy in general is a beautiful place, but I personally would not go to Rome. I mean, unless you really are set on going there, you obviously do whatever you want to do. But me personally, I think I would probably either wait, or that ship's already sailed. But that's just one thing, right? But I mean, just kind of going right along with it, the locals will know. All right. So that's why you'd like to be, flexible with your budget, as far as as far as the stuff that you want to do. Right. So, because you're not going to get to all of it. Like I said, I overdo it when I write down my list of things that I want to do, or maybe I've already booked some of these things. Like, I love history, like I said before, and I will go out of my way to find stuff, historical places within these locations that I visit. And I've never hit everything on the list, because guess what? the locals have shown me other spots. They may not be historical. They may be historical. Who knows? But they're just great spots that the locals suggested that I go to, and I went, and I got to tell you, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I asked the questions because I wouldn't have it any other way. I had an authentic experience. I got to, do what the locals did, and that's always a great thing, and that's something that you can share with other people. Obviously, you don't want to ruin that spot for them, which I think I've seen several times in my experience, and some of these are places that aren't even well known. Like when I was in South Korea, we found this local bar called S Bar, and it was in Kunsan City, and that is it's on the southern end of South Korea. So it's way far away from Seoul. It's where I was stationed in the military. But my buddy and I went there, and when we initially got there, we would go there almost every weekend, and it would just be us. And nobody else spoke the language, which was nice. Or nobody else spoke English, which was nice, aside from maybe a few people that behind the bar that had to deal with tourists that knew how to speak it. But the point of this is, at a certain point, I think somebody had found it, and we didn't go for a little while. Then we went back, like, I want to say a month later, and it was just filled with military and tourists. And we were both kind of, that was our place away from the base that we could go to. And then it was just overrun. So I don't know who spilled the beans. It wasn't us. Maybe somebody like us maybe found it and decided to tell the whole squadron, but it ruined it for us personally. I mean, because that used to be our spot. But that's neither here nor there. That's a big old sob story for just myself and my buddy. But that it is what it is. So the biggest thing with this is, as far as the budget wise, you can cut back on money on certain days, and you can save it for like the end of the trip, or maybe the last few days. Something that the locals told you that's going to cost maybe a little bit more, but hey, guess what? You've been cutting back on your spending over here, this, that, and the other. If you're budgeting, of course, right? But you have the money to go do this thing that they told you about, and now you're just like, oh, heck yeah, I'm glad I didn't fill this day up. Obviously, this isn't this isn't to say that you should just fill all your time up on your trips like that, because I am 100% on board with relaxation. Okay, and I know everybody else is. That's why you take a vacation, so you can go and unwind. All right, I'm definitely not saying to just fill it up, but just to know that you have options in case you have the energy, in case you spent half the day lounging around. You're like, all right, I'm gonna go try and do something. You have those options. That's all that's about. All right, so with that being said, that's the last thing I really wanted to talk about, to be completely honest. I really hope this helps, or maybe helps you think about certain things. And if you do have any questions about any of my experiences or my travels, I'm just a message away. All right, just go check out my YouTube channel, my Instagram or Facebook or what have you. All of the links I will have in the description of this particular episode. Go check out my last episode, which was my trip to Belize, one of my favorite places. Not Belize City. It was Ambergris Caye, San Pedro. I'll just say San Pedro. It's the bigger island right off the coast that a lot of people like to visit. Or I say a lot of people as if it's like the super popular area. But if you need more information on it, you can definitely go check that one out. And I really, really hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy it. I enjoy giving people information or helping them think about different things or think about things differently. And until next time, like I say in my YouTube channel, just send it, man.